Welcome to Everyday Superhumans, the podcast where we interview ordinary people doing extraordinary things. I'm Caroline, and right across from me, because I'm directionally challenged, is Kyle.
Yep, I am here. And
Good.
How are you doing?
You know, I'm kind of full.
Yeah.
I just had really good Indian food.
Courtesy of my slow cooker.
That's right. He's a chef.
Well, slow cooking chef.
Well, you should just say that you're a chef.
Right,
That's
a chef.
what I do.
Ladies, I cook amazing meals.
Ooh, there we go.
Just if you give me 4 hours in a slow cooker, I could give you something.
Whoa. Now we're really... Okay, now let's talk about our guest before things get a little too heated in this room. But he is the co-founder of the Bayou Beer Society.
Yeah. Joel is a beer enthusiast, as he likes to call himself. I like to call him a craft beer pioneer because he helps bring in craft beer down to this region of Louisiana.
He is my beer hero, basically. He's my beer Yoda.
Beer Yoda? He's more like a...
Because I'm thinking Star Wars.
Yeah. He's he doesn't talk like Yoda, though.
You can tell it's English.
Yeah, that's true. I like to describe him as being like the... I'm not sure who's the guy behind the Justice League. I'm sorry, comic book fans. I mostly just watch the movies and the TV shows.
Poser. I'm even more.
But he's basically the guy behind the Beer Justice League of South Louisiana. He's brought in so many small brewing companies just because...
that's his passion. He really cares about it. And always when you have beer, you have a sense of community, too. Mm-hmm. And guess what else you have?
Drunks?
Well, you might have that, but you also have festivals.
yeah, that's it.
Yes, that's where I was going at it.
Not drunks.
And we attended the most awesome festival. It was the Bayou Beer Festival, and it's put on by Joel Ohmer and his crew at the Bayou Beer Society.
Yeah, they somehow managed to bring in beer companies that don't even sell down here to set up their stands, and at the same time, distributors from around the state come by to see what's going on, and they've sent in several small brewing companies have come down here, and on top of that, they give all their money to charity to support the veterans.
That sounds like a great deal.
Yeah, you go there, you donate towards a great cause, and you get great beer.
That's right. Well, let's head on over to Joel Ohmer.
Say again?
Let's head on over to Joel Ohmer. Enjoy.
Bring a beer. That's our ghetto setup. Awesome.
There we go.
Perfect.
I need a picture of this.
Yes. I grew up right next to the ghetto, so I know.
But anyway.
Yeah. So anyways,
To Joel Ohmer.
yeah, we've been recording for the past 2 minutes. Seems to be picking up pretty well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Bayou Beer Fest. Where'd that come from?
Bayou Beer Fest was actually born out of two guys, myself and Jim Barrett, drinking beer right outside of a 19th century barn that was in his yard, made out of virgin cypress. They'd have gatherings every Thursday evenings at his house, and his family would come, and they'd barbecue and they'd cook, and I lived next door at the time, so we got into this habit of picking up a six-pack of this. He'd pick up a six-pack of that. We try different things, share, and start reading up on beer, learning to drink beer out of a glass to get that whole experience and everything. So to make a long story short, that became part of our repertoire. And we, one day, after attending a couple of different beer fests in Baton Rouge, New Orleans, we said, well, we should throw a beer fest in Houma because it's so hard to drive to a beer fest, after you've been drinking, especially. You have to find a designated driver. So just laughingly kind of said, yeah, we could do that. And I announced it on Facebook, and after that, people were asking me every other week, so when are we doing this beer fest? So once I casted it out there, the fish bit, and they weren't letting go. So we went forward with it.
Yeah, when you announce beer to the world, it wants to come.
Yeah.
How hard was it to arrange the very first beer fest? Because it can't be easy, I'm assuming.
It was not easy. We started first off with a blog, the Bayou Beer Society, And what that was just an attempt at advocacy for this area in craft beer. Every time we'd see the big breweries announcing we have this special cask of bourbon barrel aged, blah, 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 and dry hop, etc., I'd post on there, hey, well, we'd love to see something like this in Houma. And it just kind of, we were the grain of sand in the oyster, if you were. We're trying to turn it into a pearl by just agitating them and saying, hey, we have people in Houma, Thibodeau, that would love to see something like this. And that kind of morphed into the board of directors for the Bayou Beer Fest, people that were involved in that. Getting the festival started was a lot of work, as in getting the 501c3 paperwork and all of that together.
What's that?
Yeah, what's a 501c3?
A 501c3 is a nonprofit status with the state treasury.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
So
Yeah.
so we are a 501c3. We don't raise money for us. We give the money to veterans, and that's another thing that differentiates us from a lot of beer festivals, in that most beer festivals are a group of people that say we need to make money. Well, what are we going to do? Well, let's throw a beer fest. Well, we don't know jack squat about beer. Doesn't matter. Let's throw a beer fest. You buy the beer, you pour it.
People will come.
People will come.
We will make money
Exactly.
for ourselves.
So you already stand out from the crowd by doing it nonprofit-wise then.
Well, most of them are nonprofits, but the cart was before the horse for them. They needed the money, so let's throw a beer fest. Where we were 4 guys that said, I love beer. Man, we need a beer fest in Houma. So we said, yeah, let's throw the beer fest. And we're already in the motions of throwing it, and what are we going to do with the money?
Mm-hmm.
So, well, let's give it to veterans. So it's kind of a horse before the cart situation.
Because usually they wanted to build their nonprofit for something else. So that's how they gained all the money from the beer. Gotcha.
Yeah, so we formed the society to be an educational society. We do classes on all flavors, on home brewing, things like that. So we're educational and philanthropic, I think is the right way to say that, in that we give away the money to ease human suffering.
Oh, that's awesome. You should do a whiskey fest next then too.
A whiskey fest would definitely be welcome, but whew, man, talk about those 2-ounce pours would add up real quick.
Oh, I know.
People would get tanked
Yeah.
fast.
At the beer fest, I think I only had like 12, maybe 10 beers, and I was just like, oh crap, I'm happy my apartment's close to here because that's intense. All day drinking, that's a lot of work.
It is. This year we changed up our repertoire, our not repertoire, but our way of doing things, in that we required tickets for samples. The first 2 years it was unlimited sampling.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a problem with the ATC, Louisiana Alcohol Tobacco Commissioner. Didn't really like that. He did say that we had to, but he made it clear to us if we were going to do it that way, he was going to watch us very closely. And a second problem was that we had people jumping the fence, and they didn't. They had no recompense to. We couldn't tell if they came in or not, and people were jumping fence. That was stealing money from us, and the veterans. So a lot of people this year felt like, oh, well, we're getting cheated, and people couldn't get through 40 tickets. I mean, we had people offering tickets to other people. Oh, I'm not done with it. I'm leaving. Can you? No, I don't need any more.
That's how we got our tickets, because just like a friend of mine, she went by herself, and she's like, I got 40 tickets. I'm not sure what to do with these. Do you want to bring a friend and drink with me? I'm like, yeah, sure. That sounds great.
Absolutely. Yeah, you don't realize that 2 ounces of 8% beer will add up quickly.
It will knock you down.
Yeah.
I was there for 2 hours and just like,
And 1 ticket equals 1 sampling, too. I thought that 3 tickets or 4 tickets would equal 1 sampling. Or it would depend on the beer. If it was a higher alcohol beer, then it would be 5 tickets. But no, it's just 1 ticket per sampling.
And that was a point that we made to the naysayers that were grumbling about the tickets, is that we gave you more tickets for less money, and we charge 1 ticket per beer, no matter the style, where most of the other big festivals, if you get a stout or an imperial or something like that, they'll charge you 2-3 tickets. And we just wanted people to try different things and find their comfort zone, find that magical beer that speaks to them and go, this is what I love.
I found mine. Flying Heart Barrel 52. Did you have that?
Yes.
That's my new favorite brewing company. Everything by them was just great.
They're doing great stuff. They're new to the area, and we were excited to have them. at the last minute they found out they could come, so we were very excited to have. I spent a lot of time next to their serving table, trying everything, and it was all good.
Same here. I kept on going back. I was like, I want that barrel 32 again, and the plantation mud. I think is the owner's called.
Plantation mud, yes. I think it was coffee stout or coffee porter.
It was something like that. I think it was a stout.
Stout,
So
okay.
good.
Great stuff.
Yeah. So I know that with the beer or the beer fest, you sometimes get people to sign on to distribution rights down here.
Absolutely, yeah. We had some guys that came last year that weren't distributing in this area that ended up getting signed because the distributors are there. They're at the festival pouring the beer, and they'll meet the distributors, and they'll say, "We're not in this area." Well, let's talk. And I believe Great Raft, Parish Brewing. I'm trying to remember them all, but a lot of local, breweries from North Louisiana and Lafayette area got signed. But as a kind of a direct result of the festival, we made those connections happen, and that's great. I mean, people are like, well, what do you get out of that? That's great beer on the bar, the shelves in the stores. I mean, more variety is what we get out of that.
So you're like the craft beer pioneer down here. Then you just kind of help bring it down here.
I wouldn't say pioneer, but I mean certainly a craft beer enthusiast. In that I was just as excited as everybody else. We just took a route to maybe advocate and get the big boys, the big breweries, to pay attention to us. And like I said, that morphed into a couple of guys drinking beer and saying, let's throw a beer fest. So we got 2 other guys on. It was me, Jim Barrett, and then Willie Rollins and Charles Gagne joined on. And we put together a advisory board of 6 or 7 guys that meet with us too. And they handle different aspects of the festival, so it's become a real good way of doing things. It works really well for us.
And then when you're sipping beer, when you're doing the taste testing, is it like wine where you kind of move it back and forth, smell it a little bit, and then drink it? Or what would you say as the best suggestion on drinking beer?
I definitely advocate drinking it out of a glass, and that was one of the things we got made the fun of the most, sitting outside of this barn drinking beer out of a glass, where
Really?
you're in a working class environment where everybody's drinking brand X out of a can or a bottle. People would see us drink out of a glass. Well, look at you, Mr. Fancy. And I definitely, the way I advise people to enjoy beer is with the eyes first when you're pouring it. Look at that color, look at how much foam, how much of different styles give you a rich, creamy head on top. Look at the bubbles. This bottle condition, you'll see little flakes of yeast or hop flakes. And the next thing I say is experience it with your nose. Get that aroma and see if you smell the hops or the grain or the chocolatey smells from the roasted malt, stuff like that. Yeah, finally, taste it. The mouthfeel, does it feel slick? Does it feel thick? Does it, real watery? Different styles do different things. None of those things are either good or bad. It's just the way the style presents itself. And then finally, taste. I mean, it's just what does it do? So yeah, it's very much like drinking wine, step by step. As a matter of fact, if you see guys drinking stouts, a stout is usually best about 40, 50 degrees.
Yeah, that's true.
And you hear a lot of stories.
I'm a huge stout drinker. I love stouts. This is my favorite kind. It's my de facto beer type is stouts or porter.
Stouts or porters,
Yeah,
and
so
they open up as they warm up. Those are not a good style to serve ice cold. You hear ice cold beer. Well, stout, I'll take a bottle out and put it on my counter for 30 minutes. So because it just opens up, and the aromas and the flavors get hidden by that the frigidity, the coldness of the drink. And you see a lot of guys sitting at craft beer bars or when we're doing a bottle share, and they're cupping it in their hands. They're wrapping their hands around the glass to try to warm it up. So it's definitely a different way of enjoying beer.
So in Europe, they serve it warm too? Is
That's
a similarity, or is that a completely different?
It is a similarity. They have a lot of real ale there, which is cask conditioned, where everything is done within the cask. It's done a little bit differently than the way we do beer here. And they drink a lot more porters and stouts there. So that is generally, as I said, a beer style you want to enjoy warmer. But a lot of it's blown out of proportion. These guys go there and the beer's about 45 degrees or something like that. It's not ice cold, and they'll come back to tell their podnas, And for those who don't know what podna means, if you're from north of the Mason-Dixon line, that's southern for buddy. They come back and they tell their podnas that man, they drink their beer. They warm it up or something because they're just not used to it being anything above 40 degrees, where 50 degrees, something like that is better.
And I'm going to Ireland in June.
Wow.
And I'm super excited about it because before I was only 17.
Oh.
And I couldn't drink, obviously. But
I didn't think they had a drinking age in Ireland. Did they really not let you, or was it with who you were with?
I didn't try. I was with a chaperone.
It
was in high school. I was with a nun, and you don't mess with nuns.
No, you don't. No. Cajun Catholic right here. You don't mess with the nuns. No, I wouldn't advise that. So yeah, I could see the nuns saying no to that.
Nope.
I was of the opinion that Ireland was one of those countries that didn't have a drinking age, but could be wrong. That's one thing I don't know. Well, there's a lot I don't know, but that's one thing I didn't know about Ireland.
We're all learning new things.
Have you ever been to Germany and had any of those old monk beers from those? I know a lot of the oldest brewery in the world is a monastery, I think.
I think that's in Belgium.
Oh, it's Belgium. Okay, I thought
Belgium is one of the. Is it the Unibroek? I'm trying to remember the name of it, but yeah, those guys been making beers for centuries. I've never been to Europe. It's one of my dream trips for beer and for genealogy of my family. My migrant ancestor, my great grandfather came over from Germany in 1851. So I'd love to go and visit. But also beer wise, I'd love to go and visit some of those beer meccas, if you will, and experience the pub scene there and just see how it's different.
How about any pointers for somebody trying to get into craft beer? I know for me, at least, I hated beer until I tried Guinness. Then that just changed my mind.
Exactly. Everybody's got that magical. We call them Segway beers, but in the club there, we talk with each other. My Segway beer was a Beta Amber. It's amber beer. It was darker, it was richer, it was maltier, and it kind of taught me that there's something out there besides Bud Light or Coors Light, and there's nothing wrong. If that's what you like, God bless you. Drink it. I have no qualms with that. But I realized I was in a rut. I mean, I had quit drinking for 2 years because I'd get a headache when I would drink. And,
wow.
Maybe it's something to do with a lot of the domestic lagers are made with a lot of rice and corn, and maybe that did something. But so when I started drinking the Beta Amber, I was like, wow, this is great, and it doesn't give me that headache. And a lot of my friends, a few of my friends said the same thing. They had quit drinking for a while because just like beer just gives me a headache. And from there, I discovered New Belgium Fat Tire.
Oh, yeah, that's a great one.
Was another great amber that kind of taught me. And what I would advise people to do is a lot of these places have Canadas here, for example, in Louisiana, has a make-your-own six-pack shelf, where you can pick up singles, and instead of risking $8 on a six-pack and you don't like it, put together a mixed six-pack. You may pay $10 for that six-pack because you're paying a little bit more for singles, but that, to me, that's better than buying an $8 six-pack and tossing the rest. And it gives you much more ability to try different beers and discover which one turns you on.
That reminds me of my very first alcohol purchase when I turned 21. I went straight to this place called Market Street, and the very first thing I got was a build-your-own six-pack of beer. I was like, I'm 21, I'm just going to try whatever sounds good. So I went there and just got one of each. It was the best purchase I've ever made in my life.
They should have a 24-pack of Build Your Own.
24-pack might be a bit much.
Make it.
You could do it. We have the little six-pack holders. You just get a 4 six-pack.
Yeah, that's right.
That works.
Go big or go home on your birthday.
That's right.
But one of my old roommates, he had the weirdest philosophy. I guess it's different for everybody when it comes to beer drinking. But he believed that you should buy a six-pack of something that you never had before and drink it, and if you don't like it, you need to finish it anyways, just to see if you like it again.
It's like eating your vegetables when you're young.
I know.
But it's alcohol.
A funny story with me and Willie, one of the guys on the board of directors, when we were younger, I was the guy that turned 21 first, so every once in a while we'd camp out or campfire or this or that, just kind of bonfire, whatever, sitting around, and I'd go buy a 6-pack or something, just try something different. And we tried this one beer one night, St. Pauli's Girl, and we all hated it. And I took a sip of it, and I hated it. So everybody was looking at me because I'm the guy that went just show $8 for a 6-pack, and at that time that was a lot. This was at a local convenience store or something. I found this beer. So everybody was looking at me thinking, well, if he drinks it, I'm going to drink it because he just paid for it. And I took another sip and I poured the rest out. Couldn't stand it. And about 2 or 3 years ago, I posted a picture of me drinking one, and I posted it to the guys. I said, look what I'm drinking. They swore I was messing with, you drinking that? That's nasty. And trust me, try it now. And everybody, you're right, we loved it. But, our 21, 18-year-old palates weren't ready for that.
Yeah, I remember my very first IPA was a very similar experience to that. It was actually Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, and I had that because I heard it was a good beer, and then I tried it. I was like, this is way too bitter and hoppy for me, and now it's like one of my go-to beers. Like at the time, I was like the most disgusting thing.
I don't like IPAs. I can't
You
handle
try
them.
Sierra Nevada,
They're too hoppy.
That was where I really crossed the bridge. I avoided IPAs for 2 years. If I bought a mixed 6-pack and they had IPAs in there, I'd walk across the yard and bring them to Jim. On Thursday, here, you can have these. And he'd pour glasses of here, just try it. And it was definitely acquired taste, but it's my favorite style now. People ask me all the time, what's your favorite beer? It's like saying which one's my favorite kid. But definitely.
But you really like one more than the other.
Yeah.
Right?
There's always that one, but I'm not gonna say which one. That might hurt one of their feelings. But, just kidding, kids. But definitely the style I gravitate to most is IPAs. It's just, especially during the summertime, I drink less and less dark beers during the summertime than the wintertime.
I've noticed that with at least my beer palate, it kind of fluctuates depending on the time of the year.
Mm-hmm.
During the summertime, it's mostly ambers and IPAs, and then come wintertime, it's all stouts and porters. I can't do an IPA in the winter, and I can't do a stout in the summer, which is either too thick or too light, I guess.
Yeah. We all do that, and one fits more for the other. A nice lager. After you cut the grass, that's why they call a lot of these beers. You hear the term lawnmower beers, and we have one here by St. Arnold that's called lawnmower, and that's why it's called that. It's because after you climb off, from behind the lawnmower, you sweat, and you don't want a thick stout. You want something cold and refreshing.
Yeah, you don't drink a glass of milk
that.
on a warm summer day, so you want to do the same thing with beer.
Exactly.
It just doesn't work that way.
I had no clue about that, actually.
Lawnmower style?
No, I didn't.
There's also there's a Slow Ride, I think, is another one that's like that, and the All Day IPA.
All day. Those are what you call a session IPA, and a session beer is lower alcohol. So if you want to drink beers in succession, and it's lower alcohol,
so it's safer for just better
enjoyment on the way. Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you drink a bunch of stouts or something like that, which I wouldn't recommend, but it's called a session. So if you want to drink in succession, it's lower alcohol, and we have some really great session IPAs. And during the summer, that's my go-to beer is a good session IPA.
I never find a good list of session beers then, because I like you said, I drink a lot of stouts or porters. Those are usually higher in alcohol content.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's I want to drink something just for the flavor and not for the alcohol content. But their beer, I'm like, God damn it, I'm already drunk.
Yeah, I've toasted now.
Yeah, I always think of beer in locations. So I want a beach beer, usually in the summer. So I think of Corona, or what's another one? Dos Equis.
Dos Equis, things like that. Anything in those clear bottles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there's a reason they put them in the clear bottles. So actually, they're skunked on purpose. They have a different flavor. Light is the enemy of beer. That's why they put them in these amber bottles, because light will break down the beer. But those types of beer put the clear bottles on purpose because they actually want it and gives it that flavor. Anything that's an off flavor can be most of what's an off flavor.
That explains the weird taste of Corona, because Corona's like my least favorite beer because it has that weird skunkiness
It's
to it.
kind of like a skunky taste to it.
Modelo has a real skunk taste.
I don't mind Modelo though.
I like the Modelo Negra with lime. Yeah, the dark beer. Whenever I go to a Mexican restaurant, that's my go-to beer. And I never would have thought to have a dark beer with lime, but they brought it to me, and in a mug with the lime. I was like, doesn't make sense, but when in Rome, I squeezed it in there, and it was great. It actually worked.
Yeah. What's the weirdest beer name you've heard?
Oh man! Oh,
Let's talk about weird beer names, because I think that's a good selling point for some breweries. They just think of the most interesting name, and maybe the beer actually is terrible, but everyone's distracted by the name or the bottle.
I think Dogfish Head is my weirdest name beer I've ever drank. Dogfish Head just sounds weird.
Dogfish Head. Beta has an oyster stout right now,
Oh.
which
Okay.
which is called Bad Mother Shucker.
Oh, that sounds. Actually, I might want to try this one. It just sounds so weird. I need to try it.
You can get it at Canada's?
Yes, we have it at Canada right now,
Ooh.
and it's made with the oyster shells and the oysters, but you don't get an oyster taste. You get a little salt from the brininess of the seawater, and it doesn't really.
That's so weird.
Yeah. I want to make one. As a matter of fact, a friend of mine, Marty Odemo, and I, he's a fishing charter captain, and he and I are going to go dig our own oysters out of the Gulf there and make an oyster stout.
Oh, let me know when that happens. You have me on Facebook. Just say we have this thing coming
We have
out.
the-
Yeah, that
I
sounds.
would like a video of that.
I'm adventurous with my beer taste. I remember I've gotten a jalapeno beer, never again. But
Ugh.
I just
Oh,
it was
yeah.
like that sounds so weird. I need to try it. And I was like, oh, screw this. This is no, like, no. And I had to finish it though. I bought it. I had to finish it.
Oh yeah. I had some of that too, and that didn't do anything. I like spice, but back on the weird names. There's Arrogant Bastard. One of the homebrewers at the Bayou Beer Fest had a beer called Side Boob Blonde, and it was so
That
funny
taste.
that a girl that I know walked up to me. She goes, "Joel, where's the side boob?" And one of her friends turned her to the side and pointed to the side of her chest. And she's like, "That's not what I meant." But yeah, a lot of these guys have fun with the naming of the beers, things like that.
Back in the day, how much did you pay for beer?
I paid
For
very
like
little
a
when I was
six-pack.
teens and 18. Drinking age was 18 when I was growing up. You get a lot of beer for a lot less money, but it was really crappy beer. I mean, we didn't have much of a palate back then. That's when you were drinking for effect and not taste.
Yeah, that's true. I think anybody like under the age of 21 does that though.
Oh yeah,
Remember,
absolutely.
before I turned 21, like I would like shoot any cheap vodka that came to me,
Mm-hmm.
and I can't even stand the taste of vodka. I'm like, oh my god, why do you give that to me?
Oh, his Mexican cousin tequila. I mean,
Oh, I know.
We
I
don't-
cannot
First
drink
time-
tequila.
we
at
don't
all.
get along with that.
Yes. The first time I got sick on alcohol was tequila and Jaeger. For some reason, I was bouncing off
Who
those
told you
two.
that was a good
It was-
idea?
Who
I
told you
don't-
that
it
Jaeger was
was-
good?
Those were not friends.
They were not my pals at all.
No, you don't need that negativity in your life.
No.
Oh, no.
I got real
Unfriend
sick.
them.
What's
It
your
was
opinion on Jaeger?
Halloween.
Jaeger, absolutely horrible.
I
know it's the
hate
worst.
it.
I don't know anybody who.
Yeah.
Why would you drink that stuff? It's disgusting.
I used to drink it in college, and I think the only reason why people drank it was like, oh, I'm tough. I'm going to drink Jaeger now. Let's have a shot of Jaeger bombs.
Yeah, I gotta love that black licorice.
Ugh,
Yeah.
it is disgusting.
It's just the worst. I remember back
Yeah.
in college, one time me and my friends got back from a party. We still wanted to drink, and we had a bottle of Jaeger in the freezer, and like some Coors Light left over. So we poured the Coors Light,
No,
got the Jaeger in a
no,
shot glass,
no,
dropped it, and
no.
went back. It was that
Oh.
simultaneously ruined Jaeger and Coors Light for me at the exact same time. I
Oh.
cannot drink either of them anymore.
We're so much smarter now.
I know.
Yeah.
In college, you're just like, yeah, we got alcohol. Let's mix them together. Oh no, I can't touch those two anymore.
And we had a band in high school, and we'd play at little parties and things like that. And one night after one of those, we ended up at a house, and we started shooting. It's the first time I ever shot tequila, and we lime and the salt and all of this. Oh, this is fun! And we ran out. So one of my friends, stupid teenager story, says, "Well, my dad's got some at home. I'm gonna go get it." And he goes and comes back with this bottle. It's like a $200 bottle from Mexico that his
Oh.
dad bought on their wedding, on their honeymoon, and a bunch of stupid kids opened it up and we drank it, and he didn't make any band practices after that. A year or something like that.
Kind
So.
of reminds me of my brother who was trying to be clever taking alcohol from our parents. Is that he would do a shot of vodka, get water and pour it into the vodka. And
Everyone's tried
put
that
it in the
one.
freezer, and it was frozen one time, and my dad discovered that my brother's instilling all of his vodka.
I
Yeah,
did
when the
that.
vodka freezes, there's something up.
I recently did that,
You did? Oh yeah, with your roommate.
and I'm 7. I'm 27, and I recently found that out.
That-
You were stealing her vodka?
Yeah.
Shame on you.
Well, I was borrowing it.
Borrowing.
She would
Borrowing
never.
it.
She
She
said.
just replaced with water,
I mean,
you know.
she's not gonna use it, so I
Confessions 101 on
This is taking quite a turn. Man, we're learning a lot about Caroline here. Wow, I'm
yeah,
impressed.
I look, angelic, but you never know.
Oh,
It's
the angelic Caroline.
Yeah.
Oh,
Who knows what's gonna happen next?
The vodka thief.
I'm never gonna do that again, though.
No.
It exploded, literally,
Oh, really? It actually did
in
that?
the freezer.
Oh, you just bought some crappy vodka? It froze and exploded. I'd get my money back if I were you.
Don't buy that gas station vodka anymore. What were you thinking?
Wow, this is we need a whole podcast on Carolyn's adventures.
That's it.
That's
No,
it.
that's
No,
all-
no, we
that's
had
all
a
I'm
pretty
gonna
good Mardi
share.
Gras this year. We could just talk about that for an entire
All I'm
podcast.
gonna share for one podcast.
Well,
It
this-
may not even get in the cutting board.
It better.
Who knows?
Um,
My mom's not gonna be listening to this episode.
Mom would not be happy.
We're done.
I guess one question I've been meaning to ask that I was trying to save till the end was, for anybody who wants to go out there and create their own nonprofit to put something into the community that was missing, like the Bayou Beer Fest, what advice do you give to somebody who wants to go out of their way and make their community a better place through the way they think that would be better? Like maybe more beer, maybe a whiskey fest.
It could be anything. It's put together a good team first and foremost. I mean, you can have the idea, but I really get irritated when people come to me and say, "Oh, I really enjoyed your beer fest." It's not my beer fest. It's we had the idea, but we couldn't do it with the 170 volunteers that we have, or the 12 people that sit on the board and the people that show up. It's our beer fest. But find a group of people that are willing to do the work with you, which sadly is sometimes the hardest part. But we were lucky in that we found people that want to do great things, and just do your homework as far as the nonprofit status is, what the steps are to get that all set up. It's not as daunting as you would think it is. They'll walk you through a lot of that. And just just be careful. I mean, it's just we carry insurance for the festival, of course, because something happens. So that's a large expenditure.
Have you had to use that yet?
No, we haven't.
No, that's good.
No. We try to promote safe drinking, but I mean that's the thing is getting the people that believe in the dream and want to do it. I mean, the first year we were all doing this out of pocket. I mean, if nobody showed up the first year, we'd have all been in for about, I don't know, $8,000 a pop, $10,000 a pop if we wouldn't have had anybody show up. So, but we had the dream and we had the belief that people would show up and do it, and thank God it worked out. Could have very easily have rained out and went the other way. So there are some risks involved, but if you that's mainly doing with an outdoor thing. If you're doing something else, there's a myriad of things, but a good team and doing your homework on the legalities is what I would recommend.
Legality for sure.
Yeah.
Want to know more about beer or craft beer or, I don't know, even Bud Light? Or just looking for good suggestions for next six-pack, like I am? Check out BayouBeerSociety.com. If you're in the area, you can also attend the next Bayou Beer Fest, which is a few days before my birthday on November 12th, 2016. Register at BayouBeerFest.com. Joel and the Bayou Beer Society can also be found on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
Everyday Superhumans is produced by Kyle and Caroline and is recorded on location. Music is composed by Alex Allen.
And I'm going to throw out another question for you. Do you have a favorite local festival? Tweet it to us at SuperhumansCast. You can leave us a story on facebook.com/everydaysuperhumans and share your favorite memory with us on Instagram at everydaysuperhumans. And of course, you can email it to us at everydaysuperhumans@gmail.com.
And remember, not every hero can fly, so grab your cape and let's go.
Usually it's the drunk idiots that you gotta put up with and things like that.
The
But
Carolines.
That was definitely
those Carolines with their water vodka.